My name is James Di Lullo, executive producer of Mastering the Tarot, the first in a series of educational esoteric videos featuring Stacey Dean. The ancient knowledge revealed in this video will certainly enhance and reward the lives of those who study the Tarot and other subjects we will be teaching in future videos. As a shaman passes on the sacred mysteries that link mankind in symbols to the Creator, we have this opportunity to continue that chain of knowledge in this divine science of videos. By mastering the Tarot, you can be one of the links in this chain, bringing these truths and mystical interpretations to those who touch your life. Stacey Dean was invited to serve on faculty at the Second International Paranormal Conference at Colorado State University for her research in chakra balancing. She is a faculty member of the American Federation of Astrologers National Conventions and teaches at the Astro held annually in Ohio. And Stacey is also featured in Predictions 89 video sponsored by the American Astrology magazine and the New Renaissance video by New Age Digest. This metaphysical lady is nationally recognized as one of our nation's top metaphysicians by New Age Digest. Best known for her astrological counseling and psychic readings and her hypnotherapy regression techniques, she also writes, teaches, and frequently conducts seminars on personal empowerment through chakra balancing. In the past decade, Stacey has been featured in numerous leading newspaper and magazine articles throughout the United States. Her experience in real estate financial matters has been front-page news in the Wall Street Journal. Because of these accomplishments, we will and have agreed that Stacey Dean is among the few qualified to teach these subjects that we will be presenting in the educational esoteric series. She is also the author of the astrological calendar Prancing Through the Zodiac, which gives personal guidance by combining astrology and numerology. She is the publisher of a Trinity series gemstone cards, which explains ancient healing techniques about chakra balancing, healing mandalas, healing with gemstones, healing with quartz crystals. She produced the enlightening and successful audio cassette Chakra Balancing, an ancient meditation to improve every aspect of your life by listening to the tape once a night for 30 days. It's my pleasure to present the mystical lady, Stacey Dean, and the history of the Tarot.
I'm fine, Jim.
Oh, that's great. You know, I have always been excited about Tarot, and it wasn't until I learned by using your methods that the experiences started to come through. And I'm excited about that, and I want to hear more about the history of it. Where did all this begin?
Well, you know, Jim, that's a difficult question to answer if I had to pinpoint a date and a place. But actually, there are several good books that give us some interesting information on this. The first book was written, the one that is most informative, written by a gentleman by the name of Court de Gabelin. And it was published about 1773. The book was entitled Le Monde Primitif, which means the primitive world. And what he said in the book, by the way, he was a French scholar and also interpreted Egyptian hieroglyphics, quite an authority on that subject during his time. And what he believed was that the first tarot cards were actually the unbound leaves of the Book of Thoth.
Oh, now Thoth, I believe that was the counselor of Osiris. You're talking about one of the main gods, I believe, of
Egyptian mythology.
You got it.
Exactly, yes.
Tell us.
And Thoth is the one that they attribute as to the god that invented time. He also invented numbers, and he was the god of wisdom and magic. And the first 22 major arcana cards, it is believed that those were actually a part of the initiation into the Egyptian priesthood. And this is because those 22 cards symbolize the experiences of man.
My goodness. You know, having studied it, I used to just think that the cards may have started out of, where was it? The gypsies.
The gypsy fortune telling.
I thought that's where it all began,
Well, the gypsies did play a very important part in the tarot, but they did not invent the cards or the readings. Actually, what happened was, it was about in the 12th century that the Hierophants, who were the priests of the Eleusinian mysteries, began to be persecuted by the Christians and those who were in the Crusades and the Inquisitions. So realizing that they were under a great deal of pressure and strain and soon to be exterminated, they began to write down the ancient lore that, of course, was passed down by word of mouth up until that time. Upon writing this information down, and of course they used symbolism, they would, it was more in pictures and symbols, and gave these cards, these tablets, to the gypsies, because gypsies traveled all over Europe. It was very difficult to track down, not easy to keep track of gypsies, you see, still to this day, right?
Right.
So, having given this information written down to the gypsies are very wise people. They began to study this information and use these cards for fortune telling. And of course, to this day, gypsies are famous for their fortune telling, their readings, how accurate the readings are. And the gypsies are also responsible for safeguarding a lot of the information that belonged to the Rosicrucians and the Masonic order. And the tarot cards as we know them today are actually derived and come out of the Kabbalah, the Jewish Kabbalah, which of course someone back there in the Jewish times of studying the ancient mysteries and lore picked it up from the Egyptian symbology. There's an interesting story, Jim, about how that method of divination used to work. You see, the symbolism that is in the major arcana today was painted on the walls of the temples of the Egyptian priests. And the priests used to use rods or arrows that had symbols on them for father, mother, children, servants. And what the priests, the Egyptian priests would do would be to take these arrows or rods and cast them upon the altars. And of course, as they fell, they would point to certain walls. And each wall, as I said, had a major experience in life. And then it was up to the Egyptian priest to interpret the symbology. And there was your first method of divination.
My goodness. Well, we've been in Egypt now, and the gypsies have them. How do the tarot cards come into our present day experiences?
Well, the first appearance of the cards was in 1390 in a European museum. That's actually the first written record of the appearance of the tarot. From there, we go to about the 14th century of Charles VI of France. He, of course, ordered a special deck made up for his amusement. Then we come up to Edward IV of England. Tarot readings were very popular in his court. Then the 18th century, just after the French Revolution, we begin to see the Rosicrucians and the study of astrology and the study of the Kabbalah. All of this became very popular again. And it was in 1886 that a group of English gentlemen, and by the way, I might add, very educated, very learned, wise gentlemen, formed a society known as the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn. And very prestigious people belonged to this society, and their purpose was to study these ancient mysteries. Even the poet William Butler Keats was a member of the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn. And you know, also about this time, remember, our country was growing too. And we can go back to 1776, actually, when Thomas Jefferson, George Washington, Benjamin Franklin, men like this studied colonial Freemasonry. All this symbolism. I mean, you just have to look at our seal, the Great Seal of the United States. It's full of Hermetic symbolism. So it was during this time that a gentleman by the name of Arthur Edward Waite, a member of the society, wanted to design a deck of tarot that had esoteric knowledge to it. You see, the deck always was kept secret, the symbolism, known as an esoteric deck. Well, Mr. Waite wanted everyone to have this knowledge. So he commissioned Pamela Coleman Smith, who was an artist at the time, also interested in studying about the tarot, and together they designed a deck which is famous to this day, the Rider Tarot deck, which of course I describe and mention in the method of learning. There are two different sizes of the deck, and I'll show you those cards in just a few moments. And so the knowledge then became very easy to discern the symbolism, because Mr. Waite and Miss Smith designed a very pictorial deck, full of color, full of symbolism, but easily discernible to anyone who wanted to spend some time with it. And you know, it's even interesting, I can't tell you who my clients are.
Oh, we'd love to know.
I know.
I can imagine you have quite a few that we'd really be interested in.
The ethical reader never discloses the clientele. But you know, Jim, I have had politicians, celebrities, professors at universities who are interested in tarot readings. And in his book, Intangible Evidence, the author, Bernard Gettelson, even tells us a little story about John Green, who wrote the book Dakota Days. And John was a tarot reader, and two of his most famous, popular clients were John Lennon and Yoko Ono. They called him almost daily for tarot readings. In fact, John Green studied numerology also and helped them select the name of their son, Sean, so that the name would have a powerful influence to it.
Well, this sounds like there's quite a bit of responsibility in the way the tarot is taken care of as far as the
You know, I'm
teaching
glad
of it.
you brought that up, because I do go into it quite in depth in the student session. It's very important to take responsibility for what you say. Also, what's very important is self-protection. And I do go into that in depth in the student session as well. And it's been a marvelous learning tool for self-understanding, not just prediction of events. It's absolutely fabulous.
Well, I know that firsthand now because of my experiences and using your method of learning.
You were an excellent student, by
Well,
the way.
thank you very
kept your
much.
notebook, you did
Yeah.
everything
Well,
that...
thank you. I can't wait for these students, your future students, to experience the things that I have, because it's absolutely enlightening.
It is. It's one of the most proven methods of learning because it's the way it was done originally. I do want to show everyone the cards I am speaking of. This would be the...
Yeah, they look familiar.
Yeah, you look familiar?
Yeah.
This is the miniature deck that I want everybody to be familiar with to place on the body. And then, of course, the large deck should be given to you for the readings you will be doing. But the future is ready to unfold, and let's not keep destiny waiting to be told. The method of learning I am about to share with you is not written down in any book. It's handed down through the centuries from master to student. This is known as bonding with the deck. There are two different distinct decks of tarot. The first is known as an esoteric deck. Esoteric meaning belonging or pertaining to an inner or select circle, communicated to or understood by the initiated only, private or secret. And then there's an exoteric deck, which is the opposite of esoteric, suitable for the general public, commonplace, simple. Now I will show you a card from an esoteric deck. This is the Magician, and it's difficult to tell that this card is the Magician. The symbology or the meaning of the card is not easily understood. It's not easily discernible. Then this is a card from an exoteric deck, the Rider Tarot deck. And here it's quite easy to see that this is a Magician, and the symbology is easy to understand or discern. Now when you see these side by side, the esoteric from the Swiss Tarot deck and the exoteric from the Rider Tarot deck. Now I want you to understand that the principles I teach are metaphysical. I am a student of metaphysics, and what this means is I take responsibility for everything that happens to me, whether it be good or bad, whether I perceive it to be good or bad. Those things that happen that I perceive to be negative or bad events, I understand they come into my life for me to learn a lesson in order to grow. Those things that come into my life that are of a positive nature or that I perceive to be good, I also realize that I manifested that with positive thinking. When you begin to study the tarot, as you may have done with a master at some point in time, the master would, of course, instruct you in the ways of life, those, of course, being negative or positive. And you would have to understand these things in order to offer good counseling or good guidance and direction to those who are going to be coming to you for readings. It's most important that you take responsibility for what you say. The ethical tarot reader never predicts death. This is something between an individual and their God. You would have to study something in metaphysics in order to understand the importance of taking responsibility for what you say. Now, when we begin to bond with the deck, which is what this is known as, bonding with the deck, you would get a deck of tarot known as the Rider Tarot deck. It comes in two sizes. The miniature deck is the one that I suggest you purchase for yourself because you're going to be wearing or carrying the card, and it's easier to handle this miniature deck. When you're ready to read the cards, Then I suggest that you have the larger deck of tarot, and of course this is the Rider Tarot deck as well. I suggest that you have someone give you the deck as a gift, because this is how it is done traditionally. The deck that you use for your readings should be given to you. When you receive your deck, and I'm going to use the larger one for demonstration purposes, you will open the deck of cards and you will notice that it is divided into two distinct separate decks. And you can tell very easily which one is the major arcana because there are only 22 cards in the deck, so it's considerably smaller. So you would take your 22 major arcana cards and beginning with 0, the Fool, you would place that card on your body or carry the card with you. Now here's the smaller card. You can see how easily it would be for a lady to slip it inside of her bra, or for a gentleman to wear it somewhere near the solar plexus, placing it down in his trousers or his undershorts. Of course, a lady could do this also if she wore slacks. The important thing is, though, is that you carry the card or wear it on your person near the heart or near the solar plexus. And it would be nice if it would touch the skin. Now, what you're going to have to do is get yourself a notebook. And I always like to get myself, I tell my students, get yourself a large notebook because you're going to be making lots of notes. You're going to start with 0, the Fool, as I said, and wear the card somewhere on your body near the heart or near the solar plexus for a minimum of 72 hours. Now you can spend more time with the card if you wish, but please, with the major arcana, a minimum of 72 hours per card. So you wear that card during the day. At night you place that card by itself under your pillow. And at the end of each day, what I would like for you to do is to spend a minimum of 30 minutes looking at the card and writing down in your notebook any unusual thoughts, feelings, or dreams. Now, another important thing is that you make note of the day and time you begin wearing each card, because in this way you'll be able to remember the 72-hour period. After you do the 0, the Fool, you go to card number 1, the Magician. Again, 72 hours with this card, and then on to the 3rd card, and so on and so forth until you've gone through all 22 cards, which of course the last card is the World. So to recap, you're spending a minimum of 72 hours per card wearing it on the body, and each day writing in your notebook, spending a minimum of 30 minutes looking at the card and writing down any unusual thoughts, feelings, experiences, or dreams. Now, after you have bonded with the major arcana, you've used about 66 days if you've worn each card for 72 hours. Then you go to your minor arcana. That's a total of 56 cards. Now, there are 4 different suits in this particular deck: cups, wands, swords, and pentacles. So select a suit. And of course you begin, let's say you select Ace of Cups, the cup suit. You begin with the Ace of Cups and end with the King of Cups. Now, these cards you want to wear 24 to 36 hours. Some of my students prefer just wearing them the one day, 24 hours. Other students like to wear them a minimum of 36 hours. Remember the 72 hours you wore the major arcana cards? That totals a 9. That means this is completion. the end of the matter. That's the vibration of the number 9. So if you want to wear your minor arcana cards to a total of 9, you would wear them 36 hours. That's a 9. Completion. End of the matter. But as I say, 24 hours will do. After you have bonded with your minor arcana, we're looking at a little bit over 4 months of bonding with the deck. And of course, you would be keeping the notes in your notebook and not using a book, because you're going to consult the book after bonding with a few of the cards. And you could, of course, look ahead on the video also, couldn't you? Now I want to show you something about handling the deck. There are 2 different types of shuffle. The first is known as a casino shuffle, and this is used for cleansing the deck. You divide the deck in approximately half, right? And you shuffle the cards like that. That is a casino shuffle. You do this before you read for someone and to cleanse your deck. And you should do this shuffle 3 times. That's before you're beginning to read the cards for someone. So you've shuffled the cards 3 times, you've cleansed the deck. You hand them the deck. This is the way they would shuffle, and while they're thinking of their question that they're asking the deck. This is known as a chop shuffle, and it's merely placing one card in front of the other card, or some people like to mix the cards in. That's all right. But you see, no energy is being disturbed by shuffling this way. After they have shuffled the cards, you're going to ask them to cut the cards into 3 piles with their left hand to the left, and then they would pick them up and, of course, hand you the deck so that you can begin your readings. Now let's talk a little bit about what I like to have in the reading room. As a metaphysical person, I love to have quartz crystals. I use 3 large crystals in my reading room. Remember, quartz crystals transform, conduct, and expand energy. I even hand my client a crystal to hold. This calms them down while I am doing their reading. And the quartz crystals really bring in good vibrations. I also place rose quartz in my reading room. This is for love. And I also have amethyst, which of course promotes peace and serenity, tiger eye, which is for protection, and the blue turquoise for easy communication. When you're finished bonding with your deck, you're going to want to keep it in a place so that it doesn't receive negative vibrations. You do that by purchasing one of these little wooden boxes. Get them in any dime store or import store. And you can see that the cards fit very nicely inside the box. And close it up, save it so that you can keep the negative vibrations away from the cards. Now you're probably wanting to know, am I going to have to do this with every deck of tarot I get? No, you do not. You bond with the deck the way I explained to you only once. After that, any deck of tarot that is given to you, you would wrap up in silk and put it under your pillow and sleep with it a total of 9 days. This is the way you bond with any deck in the future. Just wrapping it in silk and placing it under your pillow. There is a book that's a classic, and it is known as the Complete Guide to the Tarot. It's written by Eden Gray, and I recommend this book very highly because she does have a picture of every single card that's in the deck, as well as the traditional meanings of the cards. The spread that you will be using the most is known as the Ancient Celtic Spread, and this of course is shown to you later on in this video. It consists of 10 cards plus the significator, and this is the most popular, most often used spread, and as I said, we will be explaining to you in detail how this is done and how it is interpreted. Once more, I do want to leave you with this positive note. People enjoy the tarot. They are going to come to you and regard you as someone with special powers. And indeed, you will have special powers if you bond with the deck the way I have described with you. There is absolutely so much pleasure to be derived from learning how to read the tarot. It's understanding of self and of others. There is no other way that I can explain to you that works as well as this method. This is the ancient method of bonding with the tarot. This is our student session, and during this session I'm going to introduce you to a student that has been studying the tarot for approximately 4 months. She did wear her 22 major arcana cards 3 days each, which is a total of 66 days. Remember, you've got to spend 72 hours with that card. And then, of course, she wore her minor arcana cards, which there are 56 of those cards, for approximately 24 hours or 1 day each. So that was 56 days. It's a little over 4 months. Let me introduce you to Becky. She's a very special person. Hi, Becky.
Hi.
Becky Boone. Thank you for being with me.
Nice to be here.
And I want to ask you, and I'm sure our students are curious too, where did you wear the card on your body?
In my bra.
In your bra. That was the easiest place for you to wear it, right? I've also had men tell me that they have taped the card to their stomach area, the solar plexus, which is right about here. That has worked for them too. And when you bonded with the cards in this way, what did you think when I asked you to wear these cards for a little over 4 months? What did you think?
Well, I did think it was a little strange to wear it in my bra, but it worked.
It worked?
Surprisingly.
You kept your notebook, and you made your notes every day. Then we would get together, and at the end of about a month or so, and you would read your notes, and then I would read from the book what the card meant.
Right.
And what did we find?
I was surprised. I was right on.
Every time you wore a card that signified a certain thing, you either went through those experiences, or you had those thoughts, or you dreamed. Your dreams were in conjunction with wearing that card, right?
Right.
The 22 major arcana cards, those you had to spend 3 days apiece with, total of 66 days. Which of those cards did you feel was the most significant, or had the most significant happening?
I'd say the Hermit.
The Hermit. All right. I remember that story, and it's just great. I will show our students what the Hermit looks like. The Hermit, and this is from the Rider deck of cards. As you can see, this is a major arcana card, and it shows a person holding a lantern, looks like to be a very old wise man, and he is seeking truth, knowledge, wisdom. Now, what happened to you, Becky? First of all, you wore this card for 3 days, 72 hours, right?
Right.
Okay. What day was it? How long had you been wearing the card when whatever happened to you?
It was my second day.
The second day of wearing the Hermit. Now, what happened?
Well, I was in a hurry to pick my parents up at the airport. I left my house to go pick them up, and I forgot the little piece of paper that told me what time that they were arriving.
All the arrival information, okay.
But something told me to go back in and get the paper, but I kept saying, oh, it'll be all right when I get there. Well, I did get to the airport. I waited, and I happened to be 2 days early.
2 days early.
Right. So.
Okay. So you had the feeling to go back and check the paper that had all the arrival information. You ignored that. Then, of course, the journey to the airport, only to find that you were 2 days early. And of course, if we translate the hermit, when we look in our book, we see that the hermit is receiving wisdom from above. So you had the wisdom, you were being warned, go back and check that information. And then of course, also what it says in the book is sometimes we have to make a journey to gain that knowledge. I'd say that worked for you. Now the reason you're here today is because we're going to talk about psychic self-protection. You're ready to read for other people now. You've done your homework, done your studies, a little over 4 months involved here, but you're ready to do it. Now, what I want you to do, when I say self-protection, I am talking about something very simple to do every morning and every night. And this would be when you read for someone, counsel for someone in some way. Now, you could do this every day and have a great life, but if you find it a little troublesome, then do it only when you read, the days that you read. When you get up in the morning, I want you either when you're in the shower or in the tub or if you're just waking up, visualize yourself in a 7-pointed star. And I want you to visualize, if you're in the shower, the water coming down as white raindrops. And these white raindrops are purifying your entire body. After that, I want you to visualize yourself in a pyramid. See yourself inside the pyramid and surround the pyramid with the purple light of spirituality. And that's your self-protection method. Works great for going out every day. Nobody can harm you, nothing can hurt you, but especially when you're doing your readings. Now, besides that, Becky, after those readings, at the end of the day, you're going to need to release all this negativity that has come into you from the people that you would be reading cards for. Because, let's face it, they come to you with problems, under stress.
Right.
They don't come when everything's going fine. And I do insist that you take a nice, warm bath. Fill that tub, nice, warm bath, light a candle, but most importantly with the bath is to do it for no less than 12 minutes and put some salt in there. Sea salt or table salt. We're talking about a tablespoon or so. Okay? And remember, you're in the business of being positive. All of the readings that you do, there may be some that you may consider negative, or the person you're reading for considers it negative. But leave them on a positive note. I know you're very metaphysical, and I know you've read a lot of literature on inspiring and motivating others. You know what it takes, right?
Right.
Okay, you're ready. Master to student, you are ready.
Thank you.
I love you in this pink.
Thank you.
It's the color of love and peace. Okay, God bless.
Thank you.
Thank you, Becky. This session is how to read the tarot. And I want you to get your notebook and pencil and mark down a few rules or points. Rule number 1, the client should be comfortable. Remember, they come to you with a problem. They're under stress, and they're looking for guidance, direction, or for some information and awareness. Rule number 2, create a harmonious atmosphere. I like to have live plants or cut flowers in the room. I do have my rose quartz for peace and harmony, my quartz crystal, which of course expands, transforms, and conduct energy, and my amethyst for peace and serenity. And how about protecting yourself? That's rule number 3. And remember, we talked about that a little bit in the student session, and we also discussed it in the history of the tarot. So you're going to want to follow that advice on protecting yourself. Rule number 4, take responsibility for what you say. And again, we talked about that in the previous session with our student. And I explained to you in the history of the tarot more about taking responsibility for what you say. And rule number 5, always end your reading on a positive note. Never leave your client or your friend feeling bad, negative. So, end that reading on a positive note. My first guest today is Rick Moore. Rick.
Hi, Stacey.
Thank you for coming and joining me. What I want you to do is to take this deck of cards, and of course you're going to be concentrating on a question that you want clarification and answers to. So while you're just gently shuffling my deck of tarot, there are 2 requests that I make of each and every client each time I see them. My first request is that you do not play victim to anything that you hear during this reading. And what I mean by that is, if you hear something that you consider negative, know that you have the free will and choice to change it, that you come to get a tarot reading in order to get awareness and in order to get guidance and direction. And the second request is, may I tape this session? And by that I normally ask everyone for an audio tape, but I always like to tape the session. Do I have your permission to tape this?
Of course you do.
Good, because this cassette, the tape that we make of the reading, I ask my clients to listen to a minimum of 3 times or more, because each time they do, they're going to hear something they didn't hear the time before and get more information and guidance. Now, we have previously chosen for your significator, the card that is significant or represents you, the Knight of Pentacles. And the reason I chose the Knight of Pentacles is because this card is supposed to represent someone physically and characteristically. So you do have dark hair and dark eyes, and I know that you are ambitious and wanting to make a success of yourself. Now, you have your question in mind. I do not need to know the question. I think you've shuffled the deck enough.
Okay.
With your left hand, would you please put the deck down and cut that deck into 3 stacks to your left. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, Rick, let's see what future circumstances and events are going to come out of your question. This is card number 1, number 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Now this is how we go about the reading, and of course this is going to be very quick. I would take about 45 minutes with a client, but we're going to run through this in just a couple of minutes. The first card, which of course is the Knight of Cups, this is the basis of the matter. It pertains to the question that you asked, and your question deals with a proposition, something you are thinking about doing. Card number 2, this is what crosses you. This is opposing forces, good or evil. The card is always read in an upright position. So as the King of Pentacles is there, I know that what you are proposing, or the proposition, is going to have something to do with material success. And this is the Chief of Industry card, and this indicates that the venture will be financially successful. Card number 3, this is the basis of the matter, something that is just passing. And this, of course, is the 8 of Wands. It's in a reversed position. Some cards are good in a reversed position, but however, this one indicates that what you're coming out of is a situation of stagnation, delay.
That's for sure.
A lot of jealousy. People around you were very jealous. Now, card number 4, this is card number 5, and we're looking at the 8 of Cups. This, too, is something that is just passing, and it is showing that you've had to travel or journey back and forth for some reason.
I do every week.
All right, you're going back and forth from...
between Las Vegas and L.A.
Okay, and this, of course, pertains to this proposition, right?
Yes, it
Okay.
does.
Now, we get into this position, which is card number 5. We have the King of Wands, and this is an indication of future things that may happen. You can change these. However, this is a good card, and the King of Wands in this position is saying that what you are thinking about doing, the question that you asked about, you have control over it. It is an enterprising situation, one whereby you're going to be a man involved in some sort of business venture.
Good.
All right? Now, also, this can also mean that an older man is going to help you with that business venture. Now, we get into card number 6, which is the Sun. This is future events that will happen. And you wouldn't want to turn this away, believe me, because what the Sun in this position indicates is that you're going to have material success and you're going to achieve your goals. Yeah, really. Now we get here to card number 7, and the 7th position in this ancient Celtic spread always indicates what the person themselves fears. What you fear is that you're not going to have material success. You're afraid that this won't be successful. All right. Card number 8, opinions of family and friends. And your family and friends may have had some doubts. They may think that the venture, the type of venture you're going into, is a little risky. Is it a little risky?
Yes, it is definitely risky.
Okay, and that's their opinion. Now, card number 9 indicates your hopes, wishes, and dreams. This is the 7 of Wands. This is showing me that your hopes, wishes, and dreams, you're impatient about them.
That's true.
So what I'm going to have to ask you to do is to be patient and to just go ahead and persevere. You will win out. Now, the 10th card, this is the final outcome of the matter. The Queen of Pentacles, the outcome of the matter. And what this is stating and indicates, Rick, is that if you put to good use information and experience you already have, practical experience, you're going to create success for yourself, and the entire venture is going to be exactly what you want it to be.
I certainly hope so.
Okay.
That's what I wanted to hear.
Thank you, dear.
Thank you, Stacey.
Thank you. It's a wonderful reading. And I know it has to do, I feel anyway, that it has to do with a business venture. Is that correct?
That's exactly what I was asking.
Go
That's
for it.
exactly what I'm doing. Thank you.
Go for it.
That's
Thank
what
you.
I wanted to hear.
Thank you. My second guest is Wade Walker. And to save time, we have already spread the cards out. Now, Wade, I know that your question must deal with something with money, because there are a lot of pentacles in this. And especially the first card, which of course always indicates a situation. And what I see here is the 4 of Pentacles reversed. So your question is, or has to deal with, something with money and a loss of it. Is that correct?
Yes.
All right. Now, from past experience, indicated by the Fool in this position, card number 3, past experience will tell you what you should do in this matter. Whatever your question was, because of course I never have to know the question, but I'm here to give you awareness. This card, the Fool, in this position is telling me, draw on your past experience. All right. Also, there are some cards here indicating to me what may happen in the near future has to do with a man who is in a position of authority. And this man can, of course, either make or break your situation. Do you know who I'm speaking of when I talk about this gentleman? All right. Now, this card, which is in the 6th position, what will happen? All right. This card is telling me that you have the ability to change this situation. You are in control of it. As well as this card, the 7th card, which is in the position of what you fear. And what you fear is that you don't know what decision to make. Maybe you're going to make the wrong decision. Perhaps you don't have the practical experience or the knowledge. That's not so. You do have it. All right. And this card, which is in the 9th position, which is what your hopes, wishes, and dreams are, it's the Lovers, which this doesn't have anything to do with about a love coming about. Oh,
What a shame.
What a shame. All right. But what it is saying is that you have a choice. You do have a choice in this matter, and you can change this situation. The 10th card, which is the final outcome, is a major arcana card, and it is reversed. So what this is telling me, it's the Justice card, and what it is telling me is that if you stay on the same path, you cannot expect justice. There is no balance, and you will not get whatever it is you would hope to come about. So, you have your awareness?
I think I better do something.
You think you better do something? I agree. But I do want to thank you so much for appearing with me and being my guest. And of course, we are going to answer some questions off camera.
Thank you, Stacey.
Thank
You have
you.
already answered one question.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. My third and final guest is Nancy Wolf. Nancy, I want to thank you for joining me today. And we have not only shuffled and spread your cards, we've also finished the reading. I'll do a quick recap for our students and let them know that what your reading concerns is a business adventure, reviving one actually that you turned your back on about a year or so ago. You had a difficult choice to make, but you made it. The outcome of the situation is a good one. However, you are going to have to let go of the past, and I've also told you that there was a gentleman showing up in your cards, the King of Wands, indicating that this man has light hair, light eyes, that you should be aware of his intentions, because not necessarily are there ones that can help you. So, with
I was
all
kind of
this-
counting on him, so that's
Oh,
like,
okay.
oh.
With all of this in mind, we recapped it for the students. Questions? Do you have any
Okay.
questions?
I was wondering whether I was just making a decision on whether or not to go ahead with him helping me with the project. And it seems to me that he would be very positive for it.
I want you to be aware of the Justice card reversed in the 5th position, which is indicative of what may happen in the future. Not necessarily has to happen, but may happen. And what it is telling me is that there could be legal complications, so therefore, with this awareness, you would want to read over any contracts very carefully. You want to cross the T's, dot the I's, and of course, the King of Wands in the 6th position is indicative of an older man with light hair, light eyes, and he's following this Justice card, you see. So in this position, it is telling me that what will happen, this is what will happen. It will happen. That this man is enterprising. It's the King of Wands. He's also ambitious, and he wants to do something with this enterprise. And you know, his intentions may be good, but you're going to have to be aware and be careful. Do not, in other words, I don't want you to rely solely or
on
too
him.
much on this individual.
Or give away the store, so to speak.
Exactly. So be aware that he not necessarily is is intending to do something that is not honest with this situation, but through no fault of his own, he may not be capable. All right? Any other questions? Because the outcome is great. The outcome, I must say, that is the 10 of Cups, which of course shows the couple, as you can see, with the
Yeah, it looks
rainbow
good.
above. So what this is telling me is that this venture is inspired from above. Do you feel that way
That's
about
great.
it?
Yeah, I really do feel that way about it. So no matter what, it's successful,
It will
but
be
just watch
successful.
my decisions.
Let go of the past, all right? And dot your T's and cross your I's. Do it yourself.
Okay.
It's your project, isn't it?
Yes, it
it's
is.
All your
It's all
project.
mine.
And so you really cannot depend on anyone else to have the motivation and the enthusiasm, which I know you have.
That's right.
Because the cards are indicating.
I've been looking for others to do that, but that's kind of...
They will not be there for you. And this is a partnership venture, right?
Yes.
Okay. Do not rely on anyone but yourself, and you have the rainbow.
Okay, great.
Thank you, Nancy.
Thanks so much.
God bless.
Okay.
Enter now the temple of the wisdom of the ancients. Behold, the 22 major arcana cards, a symbolic record of human experiences. As you view the cards, I will again describe briefly the ancient method of mastering the tarot as handed down from master to student throughout the centuries. Remember, you are to spend a minimum of 72 hours with each individual card of the major arcana. Since there are 22 cards, this process could take 66 days to complete. Begin the bonding process with the card 0, the Fool. Wear the card during the day. Sleep with it under your pillow each night. And spend at least 15 minutes a day writing down in your notebook any unusual experiences, thoughts, or dreams you may have while bonding with that particular card. You will end the bonding process with card 21, the World. If you make a mistake and forget to wear or carry the card you are bonding with, you must begin the 72-hour time period with that particular card all over again. You do not have to begin the entire process over again from card 0, the Fool. You merely have to start the bonding process of 72 hours over again with the card you are presently bonding with. If you want to spend more than 72 hours with a particular card, that is permissible. Spend as much time as you feel necessary with the bonding process. 72 hours is the minimum time period required. I cannot overemphasize the importance of writing your unusual experiences, thoughts, and dreams in your notebook every day. Remember, you will bond with a deck of tarot in this fashion only once. Any deck you get in the future, you only have to shuffle them frequently and sleep with the entire deck a minimum of 72 hours before using them for readings. After bonding with 3 or 4 cards, you may want to view this portion of the videotape to check your progress. Your curiosity is only natural, and it would be okay to do so. However, I suggest you do not get ahead of yourself by looking at the video beyond the point of the cards you have bonded with. And now, the traditional interpretation of the 22 major arcana cards. Those who study the tarot call these cards keys. This is because each card is symbolic of a major experience in life. By understanding the symbolism, a key is provided which will unlock the door to the spiritual wisdom necessary to handle that particular experience. Look at and study each key carefully. I will call attention to significant factors, then I will give you the traditional interpretation. Most importantly, trust your feelings. The traditional interpretations are guidelines only. You must learn how to trust your own intuition. We now begin. Key 0, the Fool. The youth about to step off the edge of the cliff. He represents inexperience. He faces northwest, the direction of the unknown. The sun behind him, indicating that the spirit is forever. The white rose, an indication of this individual freedom and the purity and innocence. The Fool is about to pass into the cycle of life. Every man journeys forward and must choose between good and evil. The interpretation, innocence and possibilities, the beginning of a journey, the dreamer, the mystic, desire to accomplish a great goal. If this card is reversed, the meaning is indiscretion, thoughtless action, an unwise choice or decision, extravagance, lack of discipline, and the desire to achieve the impossible. Key 1, the Magician. The magician stands before a table on which are laid a wand, a cup, a sword, a pentacle. He is about to work his magic, drawing down the power from above to materialize his desires. Hopefully they will be as above, so below. Notice above his head the figure 8 on its side, the symbol of eternal life. Interpretation of this card: will, originality, creativity, and intellect, skill, dexterity, diplomacy, and self-confidence, the ability to focus divine powers to earthly ends. If this card is reversed, the interpretation is indecision, weakness of will, no willpower, manipulation, abuse of power, trickery, deceit, and cunning. Key 2, the High Priestess, seated between 2 pillars from the Temple of Solomon, the black pillar representing negative life force, the white one positive life force. On her lap, a scroll of esoteric wisdom inscribed with the word Torah, which means divine law. Notice the solar cross on her breast. It is not the Christian cross, but the solar cross. All the arms are of equal length, indicating balance, positive and negative forces. Pomegranates in the background are female energy. Palms are male energy. On her head, the symbol of the full moon, with a waxing and waning moon on either side. She is spiritual enlightenment, inner illumination. She is the link between the seen and the unseen. The interpretation of this card is diplomacy and self-confidence, serenity, intuition, common sense. Important significance for creative people, such as artists, writers, musicians, and also mystics. She represents the perfect woman. Hidden influences, undeveloped talent, nature and inspiration, the subconscious. If she is in a reversed position. This indicates conceit, shallow value system, decadence, cynicism, and sensuality. Key 3, the Empress. She is the Earth Mother. Notice the blooming garden around her. Behind her is seen the stream of consciousness. She wears a crown of 12 stars, each with 6 points. This is dominion over the macrocosm. She is the goddess of love. Interpretation: abundance, material gain, stability, wealth, fertility, contentment, comfort, pregnancy, physical love, positive sensuality, the fruition of projects, marriage. Reversed, the indication is infertility, psychological instability, sterility, poverty, dissipation, debauchery, idleness, overindulgence. Key 4, the Emperor sits on his throne, commanding and stately. In his right hand he holds an Egyptian ankh, also called the Cross of Life. The Emperor stands for domination of the material world, paternity, life by law, authority. Interpretation: endurance and dominance, a reasoning intellect, paternity, potency, virility, a builder, power, leadership, authority, stability. In a reversed position, this card indicates a loss of inheritance through fraud, a loss of control, injury during a battle, ambition, war, and tyranny. Key 5, the Hierophant, who was the high priest of the illusion mystery religion. His right hand is raised in a gesture of blessing, and the right hand signifies law. The left hand signifies liberty. At his feet, the crossed keys of St. Peter, and kneeling before him are 2 monks in supplication. One is wearing a garment decorated with white lilies. That indicates thought. The other shows the roses of desire. Interpretation of this card: social approval, servitude, kindness, humility, and mercy. If this card is reversed, it means that the client must avoid becoming superstitious or unconventional and should not be dogmatic. Key 6, the Lovers. Here is Raphael, the angel pouring down a blessing on the 2 figures below. The man represents the conscious mind, the woman represents the subconscious mind. And you will notice that the lovers stand here in harmony and friendliness. Although totally nude, they have nothing to hide from each other. A harmonious and successful life does indeed depend on cooperation between the conscious and the subconscious mind. Interpretation: passionate love, perfection, harmony, matters dealing with marriage and affairs. A choice between powerful attractions. If this card is reversed, it indicates jealousy, general bad tidings in love, infidelity, possibility of making a wrong choice, broken relationships, or divorce. Key 7, the Chariot. This is a card of victory. You will notice that the man in the chariot wears an 8-pointed star, here representing dominion over all. The chariot stands for the human personality. And the 2 sphinxes are again related to the instance of nature and not spirit. The stars over his head indicate that celestial influences will affect his victory. Interpretation: conquest, triumph, victory, And this triumph could be over anything: health, enemies, money. Most likely, though, it will be on a material plane. Loyalty, obedience, and authority, overcoming any adversity. Reversed, this card indicates a desire for change, restlessness, illness, unethical victories, quarrels, trouble, vengeance, struggles, and obstacles. Key 8, strength. And this card indicates that we need to create a balance between our spiritual and our carnal desires or nature. The white robe indicates purity. And notice above her head the symbol for eternal life, indicating that she is in control thanks to her belief system and her spiritual powers that are helping her. Interpretation of this card: spiritual strength, overcoming weakness. It's mind over matter, love triumphing over hate, and strength and courage are tempered by judgment. If this card is reversed, it indicates a lack of self-confidence, a fear of the unknown, abuse of power, danger, obstinacy, and weakness. Key 9, the hermit, standing on a mountain peak, holding the lamp of truth. Containing within it are the 6-pointed stars, the seal of Solomon. He carries the staff to help him on his narrow path of initiation. Of course, he wears the mantle of discretion. Remember, too much light is just as blinding as darkness. Interpretation: attainment of goals, prudence, wisdom, caution, illumination coming from within, solitude and withdrawal from things of this world, a teacher, an advisor, a journey for wisdom. Reversed, this card indicates immaturity, refusing to listen to good advice from someone, timidity and fear. Key 10, the Wheel of Fortune. The Sphinx rests at the top of the wheel, and that indicates wisdom, suggesting we have the power to change our lives. The serpent descending the wheel is Typhon, the Egyptian god of evil. On the right-hand side of the wheel, the jackal-headed Egyptian god Hermes Anubis is the symbol of intelligence, aspiring to ascend. Interpretation of this card: destiny, luck, fortune, the law of karma. Anything that you have done in the past will come back to haunt you. An unexpected turn for the better, change of luck for the better, and success. Reversed, this card indicates setbacks, failure of a venture or enterprise, a need for courage, an unexpected turn for the worse. Key 11, justice. Seated between positive and negative forces, her sword is lifted in defense of justice, and no one can escape it. There will always be victory where there is justice. In her left hand, scales of gold, always related to the balanced judgment. With this key, the ability to know right from wrong is necessary. Interpretation: balance, fairness, fair judgment. Of course, it's associated with legal matters and lawsuits, and clearness of vision. Reversed, it indicates legal complications, prejudice, bad judgment, an incorrect choice. Key 12, the Hanged Man. Notice the illumination around the head. Spirituality is coming forth. Interpretation for this card: overcoming materialism, turning from the outer material world to the inner spiritual world, transition and surrender, intuition, and prophecy. Decisions are on hold. A complete reversal in one's way of life. Sacrifice or self-sacrifice. Reversed, it indicates wasted effort, arrogance, and a obsession with one's own delusions, over-attachment to the material world. Key 13, death. Do not fear this card. It suggests change, old concepts for new. Get rid of your rigid thinking. It can be the ending of one thing and the beginning of another. Interpretation, new opportunities, sudden changes, renewal and rebirth, a clearing of old things to make way for the new. It can also indicate violence, political unrest, and liberation through change. If this card is reversed, there will be stagnation, forced change, or a lack of things that should be changed. It also will indicate political upheaval, procrastination, losses, failure, and disaster. Key 14, temperance, represents the Archangel Michael. He pours the essence of life from the silver cup of the subconscious into the golden cup of the consciousness. We do nothing in and of ourselves alone. We have guardian angels who are leading us along the path of attainment. Interpretation of this card, self-control, cooperation, harmony, moderation, good management, temperance, diplomacy, and discipline and balance. If this card is reversed, quarreling, corruption, separation, and competition. Key 15, the devil. That is the opposite of the archangel in key 14. Notice the donkey ears. This suggests obstinacy. Here we get down to his left hand that holds a torch of destruction, and the inverted pentagram, evil intent. Interpretation of this card, bondage to the material, perversity, sexual or otherwise, desire to overcome spiritual inclinations, impulsiveness, ambition, and temptation. It also indicates physical illness and danger. If this card is reversed, it indicates undecisiveness, spiritual understanding, overcoming being materialistic, and overcoming pride. Key 16, the tower. The lightning is also the divine fire. It destroys only what is evil and purifies and refines what is good. The man and the woman appear to be falling from the tower of material security. They're getting a brilliant glimpse of the truth. Remember, you will gain nothing if you sell your soul for anything that is on a material level. Interpretation of this card indicates bondage to the material. Again, we have disruption, calamity, unforeseen catastrophe, deception, bankruptcy, whether it be financial or spiritual. Traditional associations with the Tower of Babel. So, of course, we have to find a way to handle that materialism, that bond to materialism. If this card is reversed, it has good meaning. Illumination, inspiration. It also indicates freedom, although bought at a great cost. Key 17, the star. The truth will unveil itself. If we will only listen, we will gain the knowledge. Notice in the sky there are 7 small 8-pointed stars and 1 large one, all of these representing cosmic energy. The 7 smaller stars correspond to the 7 chakras of the body. Interpretation: hope, expanded horizons, the promise of satisfaction, unexpected help, insight and inspiration. A great love will be given or received. If this card is reversed, there is self-doubt, a closed and rigid mind, disappointment, a lack of perception. The person is emotionally perhaps unstable, and it can indicate physical or mental illness. Key 18, the moon. And now we are dealing with emotions. The moon appears in the 3 phases. This is the key of sleep and dreams. Intuition concerning the body, the mind, and the spirit. Interpretation of this card: imagination, intuition, psychic ability, bad luck for a loved one. If this card is reversed, do not take risks. There's a need to be practical. There's deceit, hidden dangers, and fear of the irrational or the unknown. Key 19, the sun. Here we find the naked child on the white horse. He represents perfect control between the conscious and the unconscious. The banner in his left hand indicates that control, and it's now passed from the conscious right hand into the subconscious left hand. And of course, his nakedness indicates that he no longer is ashamed or has anything to hide. Interpretation of this card: a good marriage, success, health, pleasure, attainment of material things, imaginative and daring ideas that will be justified and win over great odds. This is the masculine card and the masculine side of an individual. Reversed, we have uncertain future, troubled marriage or trouble in a relationship, danger of loss or failure regarding a career, job, or home, a broken engagement. Key 20, judgment. And power belongs to he who knows. Knowledge and wisdom go hand in hand. The man arising from the tomb again represents the conscious mind, and the woman the subconscious. The child indicates regenerated personalities. And the interpretation of this card: transformation and changes, determination, confrontations, the union of opposing forces. The spiritual and the material come together and combine in perfect harmony. If this card is reversed, there is the fear of death, a divorce, separation, loss of material and worldly possessions, guilt, a deserved punishment, weakness, and delay. Key 21, the world, and the final state of cosmic consciousness. The dancer's 2 wands represent the powers of involution and evolution. This card indicates finally you have attained whatever it is as the fool you stepped off the cliff to search for as you journeyed into life. Interpretation: success in all matters, travel, a move, or change of residence, fulfillment of desires, a reward. If this card is reversed, it indicates stagnation and inertia, blindness towards moral, spiritual, or physical circumstances. There's a lack of vision here and a fear of change. It indicates that success has yet to be won. I will now give you the interpretation of the minor arcana, believed to have originated somewhere in Italy. The first suit that we are going to interpret are the wands. And as I give you each of the suits, I want you to remember that they do also relate to a regular deck of cards. So the wands would be the same as clubs. Also, wands are unfavorable when placed next to the cup cards. I want you to understand that a card is strong or weak depending upon the card that is next to it. Cards of the same suit on either side of one card strengthen it for good or evil according to the nature of the card in between. Cards of opposite natures weaken it greatly for either good or evil. So if a wand were surrounded by cup cards, then the meaning of that one particular card would be somewhat weakened. Also, wands indicate the direction of south, and they relate to the fire element. We now begin with the Ace of Wands. This indicates a beginning of an enterprise or a journey. The Two of Wands, success, influence, courage to succeed. The Three of Wands, possible partnerships, hope, and power. The Four of Wands, romance, marriage, prosperity, perfected work. The Five of Wands indicates completion of something, lawsuit, struggle, and strife. We now go to the next group of wands. Six of Wands, victory, good news, advancement. Seven of Wands, success against opposition, advantage, conquering the odds. The Eight of Wands, journey by air, a message, hasty or swift action. Nine of Wands, prepared for battle, eventual victory. The Ten of Wands, a troubled heart, abuse of power, separation. We will now go to the court cards in the Wands suit. Remember, the court cards are the ones that you select to indicate the person you are reading for. They're known as the significators. Now, for the court cards of the Wands suit, you would always be choosing these cards for someone who had blonde hair, blue or hazel-colored eyes. The page is always chosen, Page of Wands is always chosen for a young person, whether this be a male or a female. And of course, the page indicates someone who is very optimistic and courageous. Whenever that shows up, that's the meaning of it. Now, the Knight would indicate a journey by water, a change of residence, and if it's reversed, jealousy. We go to the Queen of Wands. Of course, this would be a blonde woman with light eyes, hazel or blue eyes. But if the Queen shows up, she indicates practical, someone who's very practical, or also someone who is honest. Then we go to the King of Wands. This would be chosen for a married man, who again, of course, would have the light hair and light eyes. But when it shows up in a reading, it also indicates someone who was loyal, devoted, passionate, and comes from a good family. We will now go to the next suit, which of course would be our pentacles or diamonds. Pentacles, of course, relate to the diamonds in a regular deck of cards. The direction for pentacles is east. So when you see these in a reading and you're looking for direction, you would look to the east. The element of pentacles is earth, and if a pentacle were between two cards of the swords group, then we know we have something that is unfavorable, and it's weakened. Whatever that pentacle card means, it's weakened. However, if the pentacle is surrounded by other pentacle cards, then you strengthen the meaning of the card. So we begin with the ace. And Ace of Pentacles indicates a beginning of wealth, gain, and pleasure. The Two of Pentacles is the ability to handle two situations at once. The Three of Pentacles would be a master craftsman, a skilled artisan, construction, material, or financial gain. The Four of Pentacles indicates gifts, inheritance, success. And the Five of Pentacles would indicate a loss, loneliness, or unemployment. We'll now go to the next group of pentacles. Six of Pentacles indicates deserved rewards. It tells us that justice will prevail. It also indicates charity. The Seven of Pentacles, disappointment, unprofitable venture, delay. The Eight of Pentacles, employment, profitable venture. The Nine of Pentacles indicates self-confidence, serenity, solitude, and completion of something. The Ten of Pentacles indicates property, business, home, riches, and inheritance. We'll now go to the Court cards of Pentacles. Choose one of these cards if the person you are doing the reading for has black hair, black eyes, a dark complexion, or olive complexion. And of course, we start with the page. This would be for a young person, someone under 18, and remember it's either male or female, someone who appears to be studious, diligent, and reliable. This, of course, also indicates favorable news when it shows up in a reading. Now we go to the Knight of Pentacles. This would be someone who is responsible or patient. If that shows up in the reading, that's what it indicates. If the Queen shows up in a reading, this indicates a woman who is intelligent and very wealthy. If the King pops up in that reading, then we're talking about someone coming along, some gentleman who is probably married, very reliable, and very successful. We will now go to the next suit, which is Cups, or Hearts, as related to the regular deck of cards. Now, the Cups suit relates to Hearts in a regular deck of cards. And if we're looking for a direction and the Cups come up in the reading, they indicate west. That's the direction, west. And as far as elements go, Cups are significant of water. And remember, if a cup card, one of the cup cards, is surrounded by other cups, then the meaning of that card is strengthened. However, if a cup card is surrounded by wands, like, by the Ace of Cups, if we had a wand on either side of it, then what we're talking about is that Ace of Cups being reduced in strength. And the Ace of Cups indicates a beginning of love, joy, fertility. And if it was surrounded by the wands, then of course we have to reduce the meaning of that Ace of Cups. Now let's go on with the Two of Cups, which indicates a love affair, friendship, harmony. Three of Cups, abundance, victory, good luck. The Four of Cups tells you to reevaluate the matter, and there is dissatisfaction with whatever it is the person is asking the question about. The Five of Cups indicates separation, divorce, disillusionment. We will now go to the next group of cups. The Six of Cups means you're going to see an old friend and a new opportunity is coming your way. The Seven of Cups, scattered energies, a daydreamer, deception. The Eight of Cups, meaningless success and sorrow with love. The Nine of Cups, satisfaction, a wish granted, success. The Ten of Cups indicates perfect love, lasting success, contentment. We will now go to the court cards of the cups. Choose one of these court cards if the person asking the question has light brown hair, blue or hazel eyes. Now again, the page is chosen for a young person under 18, especially if they have a friendly, outgoing, personal manner or characteristics. Now, if these cards show up in a reading, the page indicates news or a message. The Knight indicates a proposal or an invitation, and the Queen would indicate happiness or pleasure. And the King of Cups, we know that something coming along. There's a gentleman who's probably married, who is involved with law in some way and very intelligent. And of course, the kings are always chosen for married men. We will now go on to the last and final suit, which is swords or spades as related to the regular deck of cards. This is the final suit in the minor arcana of the tarot deck, and I am speaking of swords. And these are also, these interpretations would also go for any of the spades in a regular deck of cards. The direction, if you're looking for direction in a reading, swords indicate north, and the element would be air. Now, if swords are surrounded by swords, then we know that the meaning of the card is strong, whatever card is between the other two cards. However, if a sword is next to or surrounded by pentacles, then the meaning of that card is weakened. And that's very important, especially with swords, because swords always indicate strife of some sort or problems or difficulty. So if that sword, one card, is on either side of it, has pentacles, then you give it less of a strength or an interpretation. So we now begin with the Ace of Swords, and this is an indication of power, conquest, victory. The Two of Swords, indecision, a stalemate, and the person needs direction. Three of Swords, separation, tears, quarrels, political strife. The Four of Swords brings a change for the better, a release from sorrow. The Five of Swords indicates slander, failure, and an empty victory. We now go to the next group of swords. The Six of Swords means success after anxiety, passage from difficulties, a journey by water. The Seven of Swords, unstable effort, uncertainty, partial success. The Eight of Swords, indecision, waste of energy in details, a crisis. The Nine of Swords, worry, suffering, despair, misery, and loss. The Ten of Swords, ruin, pain, desolation, sudden misfortune. But this is not a death card. We will now go to the court cards in the swords. Now, with the court cards in the swords suit, if the person asking the question has dark hair or brown eyes or brown hair and a fair complexion, then choose one of these cards. And of course, with the page, you would be looking for a young person under 18 years of age who would be very active and with leadership abilities. Now, if any of these court cards come up in a reading, the Page of Swords would indicate upsetting news. The Knight of Swords is indication that you will have to defend whatever it is you're asking about or fight for it. If the Queen shows up, this indicates strength and wisdom. And if the King of Swords is in the reading, that of course indicates power and authority. Now, I do want to review a few important things with you concerning the minor arcana. Now you will notice that this, of course, is the Pentacle suit and all the cards are reversed. However, when I went through the interpretations of the minor arcana, I did not give you any of the reverse meanings. This is because most of the times when the cards are reversed, it has the exact opposite of the meaning that I gave you for the card in an upright position. I want you to understand that the interpretation of the card is something that you must feel, and whatever you feel, I want you to say. So in general, you could just take the information that I gave you with the cards in an upright position and turn that around, reverse that information, and you would have the correct interpretation for the card. I also wanted to bring to your attention that when the person that comes to you for the reading and you are selecting what is known as the significator, with this card, you would of course choose for married men, use kings. For bachelors, use knights. For a woman past 18, whether she is married or single, choose a queen. And of course, anyone under 18 years of age, you would consider using the pages. And I also wanted to bring to your attention, if there are a majority of wands in the spread, that indicates a lot of energy, opposition, and quarrels. A majority of cups means pleasure and merriment, love, good times. A majority of swords indicate trouble, sadness, sickness, or death. And a majority of pentacles indicates business, money, and possessions. And then, of course, if we have a majority of court cards, we're talking about a lot of things happening socially for the person. And if there are a majority of what is known as the major arcana cards or the trump cards, this means that there are strong forces happening that are beyond the person's control that is asking the question. Now we're going to go into some of the different spreads that are used whenever you give a tarot reading. And this, of course, we begin with the ancient Celtic method. This is the ancient Celtic method, also known as the Celtic cross spread. This spread consists of 10 cards plus the significator. The card that you are seeing as the significator is the Queen of Pentacles, and you can see how it's placed under the other two cards. I chose this card because this is a spread I wanted to do for myself, and because I have dark hair and brown eyes, I chose the Queen of Pentacles, so that is known as the significator. Now, card number 1 to the spread is the Queen of Swords, and it is reversed. And card number 1 always indicates the situation. It concerns the question that I am asking, and it shows the influences at work around it. Card number 2, which is crossing card number 1 and also crossing the Queen of Pentacles, is the 9 of Pentacles. And card number 2 is always read as if it were right side up. Card number 2 will show you opposing forces for good or evil. Card number 3, as you can see, is beneath the other cards. In this case, it is the 10 of Pentacles, and it is in a reverse position. Card number 3 indicates what is just passing, something that has already become a part of my experience in the past. Next we go to card number 4. And card number 4 indicates current conditions, something that is behind me. And you can see that card number 4 is a major arcana card, Temperance. The next position is card number 5. And this represents something that may happen in the future. not necessarily has to happen. Card number 5 in this spread is the Lovers. Card number 6. This is what is before me, things that will come to pass in the future. Card number 6 is the Moon. Card number 7, as you can see, is a major arcana card, Strength. And card number 7 always indicates negative feelings that the person asking the question has. So we can see that card number 7 would be what a person fears. Card number 8. This card is the King of Swords, and it is reversed. Now, the card in the 8th position is always representing opinions of family and friends of the person asking the question and what influence they're going to have on the matter. Card number 9. This, of course, is a major arcana card, the Sun. Card number 9 always indicates the person who's asking the question, their hopes, their ideals, what they would like to have happen with the matter. Card number 10, this is the 8 of Pentacles, and in this position, the 10th position, always indicates the final outcome of the matter. The 10th and last card will tell you something about the entire reading, and it should include all that has been interpreted from the other cards on the table. Now, as you look at this entire spread, remember what we talked about concerning a majority of cards. There are 5 major arcana cards to this particular spread, indicating that what I have asked about is not in my control. It is beyond my control. So you might say it is a fated situation. And then, of course, there are a lot of pentacles, aren't there? So this is indicating that what I asked about has to do with a business matter and money or finances. So you go ahead as homework and interpret this spread, the ancient Celtic method, and see exactly what the answer to my question was, which of course the question had to deal with the success of this tape, Mastering the Tarot. Now let's go on to the astrological method of spreading the cards. This is the astrological method, or the astrological spread. And it's a little more difficult than the ancient Celtic method, and a knowledge of astrology is really helpful. We start in the center of this spread with the significator. And of course, for this method, you should choose the card that represents the person by the astrological sign. This is a question that Jim asks. So he is a Pisces, and so I chose the Moon. It's a major arcana card. And I want to tell you now, the 12 signs, they're always taken from a major arcana card. Aries is the Emperor, Taurus is the Hierophant, Gemini is the Lovers, Cancer the Chariot, Leo is Strength, Virgo is the Hermit, Libra is Justice, Scorpio, represented by card number 12, the Death card, Sagittarius is Temperance, Capricorn is the Devil, and Aquarius is the Star, and Pisces is the Moon. And again, these are all major arcana cards. Now, when we start to delineate or interpret this, we start with card number 1, just like we would do in an astrological chart. And these go around, all the way around, 1 through 12 in the fashion you've seen counterclockwise. Now, card number 1 in this spread is the 2 of Swords. And this would tell us something about the person themselves that asked this question. Card number 2 is the Hierophant. And this would tell us something about the person's finances, gain or loss, according to the cards found in this position. Card number 3 tells us something about the individual insofar as writing or short journeys or mental abilities. It's communication. It's also brothers and sisters, and it's shown here as the 10 of Wands. Card number 4, whatever is in that position is going to tell us something about the person's home, their environment, domestic affairs, real estate in general. And card number 4 in this particular spread is the 3 of Cups. Now, when we go to card number 5, we're talking about 5th house matters as related to astrology. Here the card is the 7 of Wands. It's reversed. But card number 5 would always tell us something about the person that's asking the question, their children, love affairs, pleasure, or speculation. Card number 6. This has to deal with 6th house matters of astrology. In this spread, the 6 of Cups turned up. In the 6th house of astrology, we're always talking about sickness and servants, employers, food, clothing, small animals, service to others, and health in general of the person asking the question. When we get to position number 7, and it's shown here as the 8 of Cups reversed, this has to do with the 7th house in astrology. And the 7th house is unions, partnership, marriage, contracts, dealings with others, legal affairs, open enemies, the public in general, and how they relate to others. When we get to card number 8, this is shown here as the Knight of Pentacles. But the 8th house in astrology, and whatever card falls here, tells us something about death, psychic experiences of a spiritualistic kind, all matters connected with money, joint finances, or money of the marriage partner, or perhaps a partner in business. Now we go to the 9th position. That is represented here by the 7 of Pentacles. But when we look at the 9th house in astrology, whatever card falls in this position is going to tell us something about long journeys, the person's philosophy, their religion, their higher education, their psychic development, and also anything to do with foreign matters, such as foreign countries or foreigners. 10th position. The 10th house in astrology, and of course here what fell into this particular position was the Ace of Swords reversed, but any card that falls in this position in the 10th house is going to tell us something about the person asking the question, something about their profession, their occupation, their standing in the community, what they are promoting, honor, fame, and something about government affairs. Now when we get to the 11th position, whatever card is here, and in this spread it's the King of Wands reversed, the 11th house in astrology, and whatever card falls here tells us something about this person's friends, their associations, their hopes, their fears, and perhaps any organizations that they may belong to. The 12th house, card number 12, represented here by the 10 of Cups. Whatever card falls in this position, this is the 12th house, and we're talking about limitations, the house of self-undoing, troubles, hidden or secret enemies, something that has to do with secret societies or large animals, or whether or not there's going to be any limitation such as sanitariums are placed in a hospital or a prison, something of this nature. So, as I say, this is a little more difficult, and you should have some astrological knowledge or at least study something about astrology before you're going to really feel at ease with this type of interpretation. We now go into the Tree of Life method. The Tree of Life method is extremely complicated, but no teaching of the Tarot would be complete without mentioning this spread. The Sephirotic tree consists of 10 globes. And these 10 globes relate to the human body. The Sephirotic tree is supported by the 3 pillars of life: the pillar of wisdom, pillar of beauty, and pillar of strength, and the Sephirotic tree within. As you can see from this diagram, the Tree of Life method is extremely complicated. Study of the Kabbalah, priceless heritage of Israel, is necessary in order to learn how to properly interpret the Tree of Life spread, and the reading itself could take days. But by arranging the tarot cards according to a definite order, man could discover all that is knowable concerning his God, his universe, and himself. As you can see, the Sephirotic tree, which consists of the 10 globes, are combined with the 3 columns or pillars of life. And then we have the 22 paths or channels. And if we add the numbers 10 and 22, the resultant sum is 32, the number peculiar to the Kabbalistic paths of wisdom. It's also known that there are 32 nerves that branch out from the divine brain, and these are analogous to the first 32 degrees of Freemasonry, which elevate the candidate to the dignity of a prince of the royal secret. Interestingly enough, in the original Hebrew scriptures, the name of God should occur 32 times in the first chapter of Genesis. In the mystical analysis of the human body, according to the rabbins, 32 spinal segments lead upward to the temple of wisdom, the skull. I will now show you a couple of quick methods. This is the first of 2 quick methods I'm going to show you, and this one is known as the 6-card Hungarian spread. Now, of course, you would have the client shuffle the cards as they always do, and thinking of the question they might want to ask. Now, for this particular spread, let's say, is my mother's health improving? Yes, you can ask a question as serious as that. Then you would have the client cut the cards to the left, as they always do. It's at that point that you would turn the cards over, one pile at a time. All right? And then from the very bottom of each pile, take the last card and set it up on top. Now you have the 6-card Hungarian spread. The 2 cards on the right of you, the reader, indicate the past. The 2 cards on the left indicate the future. The 2 cards in the center are very important because that indicates the present attitude of the person who's asked the question. And you interpret the cards just as you do for your regular spread. So that's the first one of the very quick method, 6-card Hungarian spread. Now this one I'm going to show you is even faster. What you would do is, again, have the person shuffle the cards, and after they have thought of the question, which of course they can ask to themselves or out loud. For example, this is always answered very quickly, so any short little question like, should I take my vacation this March? After they shuffle, have them just spread those cards out, all 78 of them. And then you select cards at random, and here's how we get our answer. Now, here we have 2 cards that are upside down towards me, the reader, and 1 right side up. The answer to this question is no, because 2 cards are reversed. No, you should not take your vacation March of this year. Now, if the cards had come up facing me, the reader, all in the right side up position, the answer would have been yes. If the cards were all reversed towards me, of course the answer would have been no. I had 2 cards reversed and 1 right side up, so the answer is no, but with qualifications. And of course the other way, if we'd had 2 cards up, 1 reversed, the answer would have been no. Yes, go ahead, take the vacation, but there's some qualifications here. And that's one of the very fast ways of getting yes or no. Very easy, short method of obtaining yes or no to a question. Now, it's up to you. You have the method. They're all extremely easy to do, and you know the method of learning technique. Have fun with the tarot. Enjoy it. It's absolutely wonderful to learn. I always like to leave my clients with the Hindu greeting of Namaste, which means the God in me recognizes the God in you. Namaste. And the world is waiting for your guidance and direction.